Alright guys, we're back with this week's update for Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra, and we have some pretty good stuff here, even though this is kind of a, bridge week. Next week we will have Super Saiyan Bardock drop in game, Super Vegeta will be available in Star Collection, we will likely see character adjustments, hopefully some buffs and potentially needed nerfs. A bunch of things could be very exciting. And they actually did bring forward a really huge change. I feel like that's not only going to benefit just everyone in general, but I think this will also help out solo queue players who are doing really good and at least minimize the damage of running into bad teammates. I see that complaint very consistently. How could you avoid bad teammates? How could you get around bad teammates? At the end of the day, if you're solo queuing, you can't. But if you're actually playing good and doing what you need to in the game, this is going to be great news for you. So we can go ahead and take a look here at the season 3.1 patch notes, which are now available. So the improvements. Firstly, if a game is voided due to AFK, which means that the match loads in and the person just stands there at spawn, doesn't move at all, does nothing, that causes the match to void. Previously, no one lost any rank points, everything like that, just goes on as normal. The player who did cause the invalidation by going AFK now officially have their rank points reduced. So if you're someone who's trying to avoid a certain player or avoid just whatever the case is, or you just leave your controller, something comes up, it kind of is what it is, but a lot of times people are doing this intentionally. Now you're having rank points reduced, which is I think really good, because you should be punished for avoiding someone, right? And so now I'm sure we'll see a lot less dodges, which is going to be a huge thing, honestly. Next, if a player does go AFK during a battle, which means that, let's say, if someone is already, completing the match, it's been like 3 minutes, then they just are like, oh, I died like twice. I'm really annoyed. I'm not going to play anymore. And you just sit at spawn and do nothing. That happens more often than you would think. They actually added a new system for this. So, as they say here, this new system has been added that actually applies a penalty to the rank points as well that fluctuate after post-battle. So, you are essentially losing rank points if you do go ahead and go AFK, whether it's at the beginning of the match or during the match, which is really good. Because before there was not really any punishment. If you do AFK or disconnect, you do get a time ban in the game, but sometimes it doesn't even last that long. It's not that big of a deal. I think this is really what's gonna kind of change people's mind on it. Of course, if it's someone that doesn't care about the RP, but I think a lot of people who are playing, standard battle, sorry, I couldn't say that right, will actually care about it. So I think this is really good. Then finally, I think this is the big point here for solo queue players. When defeated in battle, sometimes you lose matches, it is what it is. If there's a significant disparity in contribution points among players on the same team, a new system has been added which will mitigate the rank point loss for the defeated players based on their contribution level. So I assume this means, how many kills or assists or deaths you have, how much damage you may be due to tower, how much you do to bosses, things like that. I think, are very important. And if you, do the most in a battle overall, then you will actually have a mitigation to the rank point loss. I don't know how much this is. This just came out. We just have to test it. The only thing that I'm worried about this is sometimes you could be doing a lot in a match, but you're not throwing yourself at enemies, getting kills, right? And then just continuing to cause yourself to lose a match because of that. I mean, that could be a situation where, maybe it might not work the best for you, but I do think that having the system in general is great. And if they need to improve in the future, I'm more than confident that they will. Them listening to us about this is really good. I know a lot of people talk about my teammates in solo queue suck. This is very unfortunate. I queue into these games. How do I avoid these bad teammates? There's just an unfortunate thing where having the solo queue experience is not enjoyable, and this doesn't necessarily change you from getting annoyed from having bad teammates, but at least it makes things less bad. I mean, if you do the best in a loss, like, and there's a significant like disparity, what I could even see you losing just like a very little amount of rank points. So who knows? Like, imagine just like one rank point that you lose or something. That could be really good. That's just me throwing something out there, because usually when you lose, you may lose like, it depends on, you know, what the other ranks of the players you're fighting are, but maybe let's say around like 20, you know, 30-ish points. If that could be reduced, that'd be really good. Then we have a couple of other things, such as the new sub rule, sword delivery begins. Work with your teammates to carry the Z sword to victory. This is essentially, you know, you are carrying the Z sword throughout the different kind of paths right there. The path to the goal is blocked by chains of defense lines. The hero carrying the Z sword can destroy them using rush attacks and super Z attacks. So super Z attacks also apply additional effects. You want to go ahead and basically just use your rush attacks and your super attack. But whilst you have the Z sword, you can't use high speed movement, vanishing step, etc. The movement speed is also reduced, so you need to work with your teammates to help protect you. The Z sword. So if the hero carrying the Z sword is KO'd or a certain amount of time elapses, the Z sword will be dropped at that location and becomes available for the enemy to steal, which seems really interesting. So again, you want to battle out to claim the Z sword at the center and carry it towards the enemy goal. So if the person carrying the Z sword dies, the Z sword actually gets dropped and then the enemy team can steal it. So that's interesting. I might play this mode, you know, once or twice to get a couple of people in there. This is available until just 6 days, basically. This seems like it could be fun. So we'll see what happens there regarding, you know, that Z sword battle. I think that could be really, really interesting. Now, next, I guess we could just talk about the resolved issues. Firstly, they actually fixed the technical issue with Broly. If you guys weren't aware, Broly's skill 2 at levels 2 and 3 unintentionally was shorter than it was in season 2. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look here at Broly specifically. We'll just hop into training mode and let's see. So his skill at the lower levels actually were not as far as they should be. So again, I could probably just attack this Vegeta here. So let's see. Oh, that's already pretty like good, honestly. Obviously that's how it was at level 1, but it seems like, again, they said that it should be longer, you know, and again, this is the gigantic stomp right there. So let's see how much farther it could be now. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's making that much of a difference there, but oh, I see. Okay, no, it does help though, because you have the wider radius. I can definitely see and feel a little bit of the difference there, especially compared to how it was at level 1. And I think they messed up by making it the same range probably as level 2 and 3, even though this guy has a bigger radius. So this does make Broly just like slightly better. Then what we also do know is that Vegito's skill 3 or his skill 2 and skill 1 combination, where you're able to basically zoom around and kind of just like fly into the enemy team and use your skill 1. Sometimes that did not actually give you the additional HP. Now you will receive the additional HP still, so that's really important. To fix it, just a bunch of normal bugs here. Then they also fixed the issue where actually players were not able to claim Vegeta or Piccolo. That's really interesting. Okay, well, you know what? It is what it is. That's fine. Beyond that, there are some ongoing issues where players are unable to select the default max Gekishin burst animation and customize by logging out, logging back in. This is the issue where Vegito's voice in SFX plays when you navigate over to other screens, which is very annoying. So hopefully they are actually fixing this as soon as possible. Then this issue still exists where basically you're prevented from using skills basically when you have a failed Gekishin burst, which is really weird, but that's okay. Then finally, the last thing we can cover here today is the trial hero change. So we actually have God of Destruction Topo available in the trial hero, so they made him free basically. I think God Topo is actually a decent option right now. Like, you know, I would say he's still on the lower end of general hero power, but this guy is able to do some interesting things if you know what you're doing. And especially with Baby, I think Topo and Baby have always been like a decent lane, honestly. So I might try that out since he is technically free and available right now. I think God Topo I would almost argue he's like slightly underrated, because the thing about characters is that besides like Deborah and like even 18, I think God Topo has tools to make himself look good. And I think because he's on the lower end, people kind of underestimate him a little bit. I'm not gonna put my neck out for that boy, but you know, he's able to do a little bit of things. Just, you know, when we consider the best characters in the game, he kind of like falls flat quite a bit. So I think it's either way like that. But beyond that, we do have the free hero this week, which is Kid Gohan. Very good character. If you don't have this guy, make sure you get this. At least you can get the extra memory for this guy if you already do own him, which I'm sure a majority of people do. It's very easy to get this guy early on. He is insanely valuable right now. He got mega buffed on release, if you guys were actually not aware, and since then he has not gotten touched. So hopefully he does get nerfed, I think, eventually. Honestly, even though they're giving him off for free, it would be nice if he gets nerfed. There's my 1000 freeze any of the day. But I appreciate y'all for watching. Let me know what you're thinking about this week's update. I think it is pretty good, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.